guys, welcome to the texting bonus module where I'm going to teach you how to text her to get her out on the date. So you met her, you had a great conversation, she liked you, you liked her, you asked her for a coffee and she said yes, then you got her phone number or her social media, and then now you want to actually set up the date. Now the reason why this course focused so much on just meeting her, those first 5 minutes like I talked about a lot over the course, is because if you have a really great interaction and she really likes you, the texting is much easier. When you don't have a good interaction, you can have the greatest texting game and say the most witty, funny things, send a great meme or be super cool. It doesn't matter. She's remembering what you were like when she met you and she doesn't like it. But if you do have a great interaction and you use what I taught you, then when she gets the text from you and you ask her for the specific day when to meet for the coffee or ice cream or to go for a walk or whatever, she's going to be much more excited to do it. However, you still need to text correctly. Texting is a skill set. Just like meeting girls and getting with them in your friend groups or at nightclubs or anywhere during day game, they're all separate skill sets. They still have to do with charm and seduction and understanding women. But texting, for instance, is a very unique medium of communication. In person, you have what we talked about, your fundamentals, your voice tonality, your eye contact, the way you move your hands, your fundamentals. These are very powerful tools. They are your only tools, really, that she's seeing and experiencing, and she is attracted to that. But over text, you lack almost all of this. You have emojis, but what's an emoji compared with seeing your face? So when we're texting a girl, we got to make sure that we don't lose the momentum and attraction that we got when we met her in person. But we still want to get her out, and so we have to text her. So there are two ways that I'm going to teach you how to do this. One, it's very simple. Let's call it the business model of texting. It's going to be very straightforward. It'll take just a couple minutes to explain, and it works pretty consistently. I've tested both, and I think that overall the conversational method, which is the second way, it has a higher consistency once you're good at it, but sometimes guys can get too lost in conversation and lose when they're supposed to go to actually set up the date. She already said yes, right? So that's great. You have a great momentum going, but you still have to schedule the day and the time and the place. And getting to that point can sometimes be complicated because you can get lost in conversation and then you're thinking, okay, well in person I knew when to ask her out, but now over text, where's the high point? You know, you don't see her emotions, just like she doesn't see your emotions over text, but you don't see hers, and that keeps you from seeing, like in person when she's smiling and laughing, okay, things are going good, ask her out. You may not be able to see so clearly how she's feeling over text. So conversation can sometimes be confusing, and you might not be as confident because you're not getting the same reactions you do in person. So let's go over the business model first, and then we'll go over the conversational model next, and I'll have an example from a recent interaction to show you how it looks really. So business texting, very, very simple. Now, if you remember when you ask a girl out and you get her phone number, you should text her while you're with her to kind of get the first message out of the way. But let's assume you didn't do that. Even though it's a great way to start, let's assume you didn't do that. Okay, you got her number, you guys left. I wanted to text her that night. Say, hey, it was nice meeting you, and then give her your name so she has who you are. It's not some random stranger texting her. So she'll say, oh, hey, it was nice meeting you too, and then hopefully she'll save your number. Now, sometimes girls won't respond to this original message. Most of the time, it's a good sign if they do, and most of the time it's not a good sign if they don't. But even if she doesn't immediately respond and say, hey, it was nice meeting you too, don't lose hope just yet. So just send it was nice meeting you, and give her your name. Boom. Now, you can choose to then ask her out if she responds to that message that night. You don't have to wait. You know, some guys think that maybe I need to wait a few days to not look desperate or needy. It's all bullshit. I could go into a long explanation about it, but basically it has no effect on the girl. If she's happy to meet with you, she's going to be happy to meet with you. She's not going to think you're a lame-o or you're beta or you're a loser because you want to meet now. You had a great interaction. Take that momentum and that energy and actually use it while it's still hot. Okay. So if she responds to it, then you can ask her out tonight, or you can wait till the next day. That's fine. You can wait one day. Now, what do you actually say to get her on the date? Well, this is a business style, so you're going to be very simple. You're going to just text her if it's the next day, for instance, right? Hey, Alyssa, Sarah, Alex, I don't know, whatever her name is. Hey, that's your first text. Send that, and that's just a small text. Then you can say, hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good morning. Hope you have a great day. Whatever you can come up with your own fancy way to say it. It's just a nice introduction. It's very polite, and it makes people feel good. Okay, so she reads it. Oh, hey, hope you have a great day. Oh, that's nice. Then you're going to say, let's grab that coffee this week. Let's grab that ice cream this week. I'd like to see you this week. The exact phrasing, the way that you write it, it's up to you. But just keep it simple. I want to see you this week. In whatever way you say that. Then you say, what's your schedule like? When are you free? What days work best for you? What days are you free? Again, the way you express it is up to you. But it's very simple. Hello, hope you're having a great day. Maybe you don't even need to wish her a great day, right? Just hello, let's grab that coffee this week. When are you free? Add emojis as you see fit. Depending on how good the interaction did, you can show more emotion if the interaction was really good. If you just want to play it safe and play it cool so you don't seem too interested, then you don't need any emojis, no extra fancy stuff. Just, hey, let's grab that coffee this week. When are you free? Boom, that's it. Then she's going to say, hey, hope you have a great day too. I'm free Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. Choose whatever day works for you. Then say, for instance, Thursday. Okay, sure, Thursday works for me. Why don't we meet at this coffee place, 7 o'clock? I like to ask the time, kind of. So you pick the day that she gave you, that she's free. I'm free on the weekend. Okay, let's do Saturday. Let's meet at the Starbucks on 5th Avenue. 2 p.m.? Question mark. 3 little texts. Now you can space it out a little bit where you say, let's meet at Starbucks. Then she says, okay. Then you say 2 p.m. And it kind of keeps the flow a little bit better and you're not just throwing the logistics at her. It can feel a little bit more natural. But if she's the kind of girl who maybe takes a long time to respond, you don't have time for that back and forth. You just want to get down to business. So that's the simple structure. She says, okay. You say, awesome. See you then. And then the day of the date, if the date is in the afternoon, I would text her by about 12 or 1 to confirm. Or if it's earlier in the day, then you want to confirm around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, depending on when the date is. Now, I want you to not make this new mistake that I used to make. And that is when I was confirming the date, I was really confirming the date. Like I was asking to confirm it. And I would say, hey, are we still on for today? Even worse, I would do it the day before. And I would say, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? That's not good. Because when you ask that question, it almost seems like you're in doubt. And if she is on the edge, like she liked you, but I don't know, she's kind of talking to her ex-boyfriend, this or that, for whatever reason in her life or how she feels about you, she's right on the edge, that might be just enough for her to not go with you, for her to have second thoughts because you're not confident. So it's even double bad if you're doing it the day before, like you're worrying about the next day. You want to play it cool, okay? We're interested in her and we're making the moves because you're the man. You have to set the stuff up, okay? Most of the time, girls are not going to set it up for you. You're setting up the date, but don't be that interested. Okay, so it's Saturday and it's noon and the date is at 5. So at noon, I text her, hey, good morning. See you at 5. I'll meet you at the front door. Now, it's probably pretty obvious. You're not going to meet her, 5 blocks away. You're going to meet her at the front door. But it just gives you something to say to her. That's the point, is you want to confirm implicitly by assuming you're going to see her. So you're confirming without having to ask. So the lack of confidence isn't there. And in fact, it's replaced by a lot of confidence where you're assuming she's going to see you and you're just telling her, hey, see you today at 5. You could just say that as well. The exact text you send is up to you. But just, hey, morning, see you today at 5. And she'll say, yeah, okay, cool, see you at 5. Boom, you're done. You go and meet with her and you have a good date. Okay, now, How do you do this with conversation? Because sometimes you're going to do the business style of texting and you're not going to get responses. Now, sometimes it's going to be because of your interaction, or it's going to be something you can't control, something in her life. She's not in the mood anymore. She gets busy with stuff, an ex-boyfriend comes back in her life, she meets someone else she likes better, who knows. But sometimes I've noticed, because I would later transition into conversation and then she start responding, where if you don't have a little bit of conversation first, she might feel it's a bit rushed. I think the business style works super well, and it's going to work for girls who like you majority of the time. But if you really, really want to get consistent results, then what you can do is start having some conversation, because sometimes girls are still going to have this feeling that you're a stranger. And even though they liked you and they said yes to the date, after they finish talking to you and the charm kind of wears off, then they're thinking, okay, yeah, he was cute and I liked him, but I don't know. I don't know this guy. Who is he? I'm not used to this. I've never been asked out and approached this way before, just randomly on the street. So they're intrigued and they're interested, but they're a little bit wary. Remember, comfort is of the highest importance when it comes to day game. So to continue that comfort, you can talk to her a little bit, and then over text messages, you can show her through your communication style that you're still a cool guy, totally normal, you're sociable, and you're just as attractive over text as you were in person. So when you're going to be doing the conversation, what I want you to remember, very simply, is basic get-to-know-you texts, nothing too complicated. I would really avoid getting into super long conversations. So I would say 15 to 20 texts back and forth is very fine. If it gets more than that, what you end up possibly risking is getting lost in the conversation and then not finding a good place to ask her out without it being just kind of sudden and it doesn't have the right feel. Because in person, you can kind of get away with just spontaneity. Over text, spontaneity seems a bit more rough because of the nature of text message communications. Things are already kind of bland, and if you just kind of bring it out there without any transition, it can feel rushed. Oh, and one more thing is that you can make a mistake over texting and you can somehow come off really lame or weird, and then you lost your chance to ask her out because you ruined it with conversation. That's why I say it's a better method overall, but you have to be good at texting, and a lot of guys make mistakes in texting. Now, texting is a completely separate art, and I would have to have a complete other course just to teach you how to text. This is just very basic, okay? So I'll teach you to have very simple conversations over text message, and it's basically just going to be, and I'll give you an example in just a second, but basically it's just going to be, hey, it was nice meeting you. Yeah, it was nice meeting you. How was the rest of your day? Oh, it was good, did this, did that. Okay, cool, hope you have a good night. Then maybe the next day, maybe 2 days later, but I'd say the next day, hey, good morning, how are you? Oh, I'm good, how are you? Oh, just going to the gym, this and that. Oh, yeah, I'm just going here. Oh, yeah, you said that, you worked at, the bank? Yeah, I work at the bank. And this and that. And you just have very, light, fluffy conversation. It does not have to be meaningful. It does not have to be super deep and insightful. You don't have to be funny. That's another thing. Don't try to be funny over text. It's a really big mistake a lot of guys make. You don't have to tease her. You don't have to be cool. You don't have to wait like a day to respond so you don't show that you're needy. It can be very boring conversation because most guys actually, they're either just not saying anything at all, just barely, hey, what's up? How are you? Or they're trying way too hard to be interesting. We're going to find a middle ground where we're going to be adjusting to how she's talking to you. If she's putting a lot of effort, a lot of emojis, texting a lot, you can do that as well and match her energy. If she's not giving a lot, then just have a basic, how's your day? Good. How are you? Da-da-da. And then it just dies, and then you ask her out. So we're going to ask her out either once we're in a big, good flow and things are really working and it's very warm texting, or it's really cold texting and the conversation just feels kind of dead. It could mean she's just not a big texter. It could mean she's not interested possibly, but we're going to assume it just means she's not texting or not in the texting mood, and then we're just going to ask her out. You could have a girl having really cold texting, and then you're like, oh yeah, when do you want to grab that coffee this week? Oh, I'm free Thursday. And you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't expect that. She seemed kind of not interested, but okay, cool. And then you go for it. So either cold texting, conversation finishes, or hot texting, and you're in the high point, just like you are in person, and then you go for it. Okay, so let's go to a real life example that I had actually just super recently that demonstrates how to have conversation and how you can very quickly go from a cool conversation to actually asking her out and then setting up the logistics. Okay, so here's an example from a girl that I was talking to recently. Now, the context is that I actually met her at the bank, and while I was, doing my business, I could tell she was into me. And I'll teach you how to do girls who are working in the Hired Guns module. So go check that out in this course if you want to learn how to meet girls who are working at grocery stores or working at a cafe or a restaurant. Okay, so I saw she was really interested in me, and then I actually wrote my number down on a sheet of paper, and then I gave it to her. And I'd given her a compliment earlier and told her she had really beautiful hair, and she responded really well. So I knew that this was going to work. So I gave her the note with my number on it, and she said, "Oh, thank you." And I said, "Text me if you want." And then she texted me. So here's her texting me a couple hours after I left the bank. "Hello. Hey there, it was nice talking to you. What is your name?" She gives me her name, gives me her nickname, and then I say, "Okay, Bine." Bine is Romanian for good. Okay. And I say, "Are you in school or do you work full time?" And she says, "I work full time here, the bank. I'm still in college, last year in another city, but I do online classes, so all good. Because of the quarantine, she had to come back here." Then I asked what she's studying. Finance and banking. Okay, now this is the part in the conversation where things start to pick up, because she showed an emoji. It's a small detail, but it actually does make a big difference. And it's kind of funny because she works at a bank and she's studying finance and banking. I said, "Oh, that makes sense." And she studied English. Her phrasing is kind of bad. But she wanted to show me, this is her showing that I know a little bit of English. Then I give her a really nice compliment. I kind of say, in the future you'll be working in the big building and dealing with big banking business. "Oh, it's my dreams." Okay, now we're getting a little bit more emotional here. So this is good. This is an example of hot texting where things are going really well. So then I give her a winky face. Now, I had a thought to set up the date here. This would be a perfect moment for me to set up the date. Just send the winky face. It just acknowledges what she said, right? And I don't overdo the conversation, because you could possibly overdo the conversation. And then just say, "So, I'd love to grab a coffee with you." Now, the only reason why maybe I didn't go for it here is because I hadn't done the seed of the date already that I would normally if I just did a cold approach out on the street. I just had a quick conversation with her, and then I give her my phone number. There wasn't too much precedent to grab a coffee yet, so I wanted to get a little bit of conversation first. So I said, "I'm glad you practiced some English because I speak a little bit of Romanian, very little." And she said, "Yeah, but my English is a bit rusty." And she's like, "Oh, very well." This is her not having good English. Very good. So then I make a joke. For me to explain Caterinca Proasta is going to take a while to explain, but basically I know all the curse words. There we go. So that's why she's laughing. And she says, "Dead, I'm dead." Crying, laughing emoji. "What are you doing here in Romania?" And then she just told me she got out of work. And then I sort of start giving her a story. Now, I'm not giving like 10 paragraphs as explanation here. I just give quick summaries. When you're having the first conversation, you want to play it kind of conservative and let her maybe start to show a little bit more emotion like she did with the emoji. But I'm still playing it really careful here, even though I know she likes me. So I just explain a little bit of my history. And then she asks me, this country sucks, and it's the thing that I hear from a lot of people. And I tell her why I like it. And then we start talking about the US. I tell her how it's like in the movies. I tell her where I went to school. And then I lived in California. Now she's, "Oh my God, California." And then I tell her one thing I don't like about Romania. The customer service and the taxis, they suck here. So now we're just having really normal conversation, just kind of silly. Now she's responding to every little joke that I make. Now I'm being a bit funny here, but it's because I know how to text, okay? If she's not responding like this, don't be trying to make a bunch of jokes. But she's clearly loving it, so it's working out just fine, as you can see, okay? Now this is where I ask her out. So here's the thing. I started being funny here. I started talking about the guys and the girls who work here. Borsuk is kind of like a bitch, and Smartadoi is like a tough guy. Right? I'm making fun of the customer service here. And then I give her a compliment where I say sometimes there's a pretty girl at the bank who's the exception, okay? So she's laughing at my jokes, and then I kind of feel like this last message from her is the end of it. I'm not going to continue. It felt like the conversation was kind of wrapped up because I was thinking, okay, what do I say next about this conversation? We just went from 2 different topics. It feels kind of like complete, okay? All right, perfect. So I just respond with some emojis because she gave me a bunch of good energy. And then, boom. Now here's one good thing though, is I wrap how I ask her out in the context of the conversation. This is how you smoothly transition into asking a girl out. Because she said, you caught me in a good mood, you don't want to see me in a bad mood. Now, I didn't want to say, oh, I hope I don't see you in a bad mood, because it just makes me sound like a bitch. Like, I don't give a fuck if she has a fucking attitude. She's just a silly girl. So I say, well, maybe you and I can have a good mood together this weekend. I turn it into a positive. Like, we can spend some time together and have a good mood. And it's from the context of her text. So if you're ever having a conversation and you can somehow use what she said and change it into a way of like how we can get together, that's a really nice way to make it feel like you're not just randomly asking her out, okay? So for some coffee, if you're free, and she says, I'm free tomorrow because this weekend I'll go home. And I said, that can work for me. What time do you finish work? She tells me 6 p.m. I say, I understand. I tell her we can finish and then we can meet in the center. And then we get into some conversation about exactly where we're gonna go. I maybe just make it a little bit too complicated, but sometimes I'd like to have fun with texting. What I would normally say for you is have a very certain place of where you want to go. Sometimes you'll have some complication of like, it's too far for her. I would avoid letting girls take control of where to go. It's a bad habit if she's in control of the situation. You suggest something, she says somewhere else. Sometimes it can be fine. I've had it go fine. But sometimes I've noticed that when a girl controls where we go on the date, when we get on the date, she seems to try and take more control, right? You want to be the man, she's the girl. So just pick a place, set the time, you ask her when she's free, but after that you take control and then you say, okay, let's meet there. Now, one more note before I go is that once you set up the date, if there's a long time between the day of talking about the date, so let's say Monday, and then the date is for Friday, you want to text her at the midway point because too much time will go by without you texting her, and sometimes girls can go cold and feel like, you're not there anymore. I've had girls, the day of the day, I'm like, hey, let's meet here. And she's like, oh, I didn't think we were still on. And I say, why? And she's like, well, you didn't talk to me all week. So if more than 2 days pass between the time of talking about the date and the day of the date, just text her really simply, say, hey, Alyssa, I keep using Alyssa, I don't know why I'm obsessed with that name. Hey Sarah, hey Miranda, whatever, right? I hope you're having a good morning. It's a beautiful day out. Have a good day. Just a nice message. You're not saying, hey, what's up? And just spamming her with stupid questions. You're just wishing her a good day. Then she'll say something like, hey, hope you have a good day too. Or she might even start a conversation and talk to you. But it's just the thought that counts, the small gesture of niceness of wishing her a good day. Then it makes her feel like, oh, he's still here, he still likes me. Okay, cool. And then 2 days later, you do the confirmation text in the morning and tell her you'll see her at the time of the date. Okay, so there's a very rough and quick guide on how to text a girl to get her on a date and set up the logistics, but it's very solid. Both these methods will work a lot and very consistently. And even if this doesn't work, she usually wasn't that interested. Most of the time it's because you didn't have a great interaction. You might have thought you did, but something wasn't feeling right for her. Because if you follow one of these 2 methods, for the most part, you'll be successful and you'll get girls out on dates. Okay, cool. Hope you enjoyed this module, and I hope that you go meet some girls everywhere and anywhere, anytime you want. Get their numbers, get them out on a date, and have a good time. Okay, ciao.